it's Rosie here at Just Chill Baby Sleep. Today I'm talking all about separation anxiety and sleep. I know this can be a really challenging area for your little one's development, especially when it comes to sleep. So a few tips from me and a bit of information might just help you sort out any issues you might be having. So first of all, separation anxiety. It can happen really anytime from about 5 to 6 months. So it's not generally before then, because little ones don't understand the concept of object permanence, which it's called. So this means that when you leave the room, they're understanding that you're leaving and they're essentially calling for you to come back. So object permanence is a change. It tends to happen around 5 to 6 months old. But some babies can display separation anxiety from about 4 months, and some of them might not display it at all. It might not happen until your little one is a toddler, or even starting school can be a period where there might be some separation anxiety. So it can happen any time is the first point to make. There's no particular time that it will happen. However, it does tend to peak around 9 to 10 months. And unfortunately for many of you maybe watching this might be when you're thinking about returning to work. So it can coincide with also starting new childcare potentially, so maybe childminder, nursery, nanny, whatever it is that you're doing. So that's possible. It can happen to any child. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong, and actually separation anxiety can be a sign that you have a really strong bond with your baby and that you're doing something really right. So don't beat yourself up. I know it can feel really difficult if you're the one that's dropping that kid off at childcare and that baby's clinging to your leg and you're seeing other babies who seem to be happily waving goodbye and playing. Really don't take that as a reflection of your parenting skills. Like I said, it's potentially a good sign that you're really well bonded to your little one. So some tips that you can use for childcare would be to make your goodbyes quite quick. Never sneak off from your little one. Make sure that they know what's going on and you're quite open with that process with them. This goes the same for bedtime. So bedtime boundaries can get a little bit blurred when separation anxiety is peaking. And often, again, around the 9 to 10 month mark, it might be that your little one has learned to move around. So they're standing up, pulling up on the cot, maybe calling you, things like that if you try and leave the room. So I would have a really good solid routine in your day so that you know your little one is actually really ready for bed at bedtime, because you want them, we should be tired at bedtime, right? That's normal. So we want your little one to be tired enough that they're ready for bed, because some of us might, if we're giving them a nap that's too late in the day, for example, they might not actually be ready, in which case they are going to get a bit annoyed and they are going to call you, and that can kind of make separation anxiety worse. We want to catch them at the point when they're not under tired, but they're also not overtired, so they're really ready to go to bed. And keep consistent bedtime boundaries. So when you say goodnight and you do what you normally do, whatever that is, that's what you really need to stick to, and not find yourself working in other directions. With smaller babies, obviously we stay and support them, we help them work through whatever is going on, but not to the point where it's detrimental to you and the rest of your family. So if it's taking a very long time and you're sat in that room for an hour plus, potentially what you're doing might not be helping babies. It's worth revisiting how you're settling them to sleep at night. If they're going through what feels like a real peak separation anxiety time, so maybe you've just started them at nursery or in a new situation, it's probably not the best time for sleep teaching tools to use those. But it doesn't mean that you have to go in the opposite direction and go back to maybe what you were doing when they were newborns, so maybe rocking them or some other kind of sleep support that you were using. So try and stick to your bedtime boundaries. Once you think they might be through this period of change, then do revisit how you settle them at night. Work on a system that works for you and means that you can eventually leave that room. So don't let separation anxiety really set you back so far that you're doing something that you don't feel comfortable with. With older children, lots of reassurance at bedtime, really great bedtime rituals in the lead up to bedtime. So cutting screen time in advance of bed, having a nice relaxing bedtime routine, having a story, having a cuddle. Often, especially those starting school, you might find that at bedtime, that's when they open up to you and start telling you about some of their worries and things like that. That's when a worry box can come in really, really well. I love a worry box. So you can just get a shoebox, decorate it, call it a worry box, and together you can write down their worries and we post them into the box, and that means they can park them until the next day or whenever it is that they're going to perhaps address those worries together. Having a nice sleep environment, all the consistent things that I talk about quite a lot, is really, really key with separation anxiety. When they're learning about you going and returning, this is where doing things like playing games of peekaboo and hide and seek during the day are great, just to reassure your little one that you do come back. Perhaps if you're trying to cook the dinner and your little one wants to be on you the whole time, maybe try and set up an interesting activity in the other room or sort of next to you, distract them with that, then move away to do a bit of cooking. And if they do start crying immediately, you don't have to rush them straight away. Just pause for a moment, wait for a moment, interpret what they're doing, and then take action going forward from there. So that might be, you know, wearing them in a sling, or it might be giving them a cuddle or stopping what you're doing. But have that moment just before you do that, just to give them the space to understand that perhaps you don't run to them immediately. Obviously, depending what they're doing, we want them to be safe. So make sure that you keep your boundaries in place. Don't panic. Separation anxiety does come in waves, and that's really, really normal, but you will get over that wave and things will return to normal. But you can really only control what you do. You can't control your baby. So how you react to them in certain situations will dictate what they expect. So maybe once you're over that wave, revisiting how you're settling at bedtime, how you're reacting during the night, and I promise you it will all calm down, even though it feels like it might be very difficult at the moment. I hope that's helpful. Best of luck with getting through your period of separation anxiety.